Hello, welcome back to the channel. Glad you could join me. Today I'm going to be talking about Wolves and the River of Stone. This is the second book in the Vesic series. Again, we're back with Damien Vesic. He is the necromancer who lives in St. Louis and runs a shop called the Double D. And it's, an esoteric New Age kind of shop with crystals and that kind of paraphernalia. The thing that the regular person who comes into the shop doesn't understand is that the shop actually sells magical accoutrements and things necessary to actually cast magic spells. Those in the know, they go to his shop because they're going to get a good deal on the stuff that actually works. Sorry about that. Damien is a necromancer. It's interesting the way necromancers are kind of treated in this book. Damien seems to be kind of the exception to the rule. Him and his teacher, his master, that taught him how to use his powers. So after the end of the previous book, Damien is back in his little shop with his friends, and they're actually going after someone that that his master used to be very close with. His master, Zola, was once lover with a man named Philip Pinkerton, who also turns out to be a necromancer. Philip has decided that it would be better if the entire world died. Because if the entire world died, then the necromancers would reign supreme. Because of all the death energy and their ability to control the dead, they would be the best. And so he is trying to resurrect a demon called the Destroyer to further his plans. And he has a whole cabal of other lesser necromancers that are on his side. And Damien gets involved with a lot of people. It's an expansion of what we learned and dealt with in the first book. So in the first book, we know that the Fae exist because Damien has a number of fairies that live in his shop with him, and we also know that vampires exist because his sister is a vampire. And now we get an expansion of the mythos of what is possible in the world that is inhabited by these characters, because we are introduced to werewolves. There is a pack of werewolves that live in the area. It sounds like, just from context, that there may be multiple packs of werewolves that live in and around St. Louis, and so we get to find out, and this is why I was saying earlier that Damien seemed to be a little bit of an exception that proves the rule, because in the past, necromancers and werewolves and things, they clashed, and they did not get along very well. Necromancers often killed werewolves, and you're thinking, well, how, what? Werewolves, they're, apparently because of the necromancer's ability to control and raise zombies, they just overwhelmed the werewolves. Anyway, so we do have this initial animosity between Damien and the werewolves. One of the things I do like about these books is at least at this point in time, Damien is very open-minded when it comes to the other supernatural entities that he brushes up against. And instead of immediately jumping to the conclusion that this is bad or that is bad, he has a tendency to think first and judge later. And so he is able to make allies where in the past, because of their differences of opinion and whatnot, the factions would not get along. So he runs into the werewolves, and they get involved with hunting down the necromancers that are part of Philip's cabal, and trying to stop him from destroying the world by raising a demon. Anyway, so that's basically the plot. Is we have an addition of werewolves into the mix, and how do we stop a man trying to raise a demon called the Destroyer? My reaction: I enjoy the books. I've read 2 so far. I find the books easy to read. I find that the narrative flows pretty well. The characters, unfortunately, some of them just kind of blend into each other. They're not necessarily always distinct, but a lot of times those might be side characters that just get mentioned in passing. The other thing is, it seems that the author, instead of thinking ahead with his world building, just kind of puts things in as he decides. So in the previous, obviously in the previous book, we weren't introduced to werewolves. The previous book revolved around necromancers, the Fae, and vampires. And this one, we've got the introduction of werewolves. Now, Damien is a necromancer, and when he finds out that there are werewolves in Missouri, he's like, there are werewolves? Aren't those fictional? And I'm sitting there going, you're a necromancer whose sister is a vampire, and you share your store with Fae. Why would werewolves be a problem here? So it just seems, like I said, that, or maybe that was just a poor choice in writing. To me, it seems that a line in the first book, something along the lines of all those things that go bump in the night that you've always imagined, they're actually real. Something of that nature. Whereas this is like, well, you've got old gods, you've got fairies, you've got ghosts, you've got necromancers, you've got fae, you've got vampires. I don't see the problem with werewolves being introduced, and why would you be confused about that? Why wouldn't you just take that in stride and say, oh yeah, werewolves, gotcha, let's move on, rather than being like, werewolves aren't real, and saying, well, yes I am, I'm right here. That kind of seemed a little off in this book. I enjoyed it. As I said, it moved smoothly. I enjoyed the story. Some of the time when you have the big bad evil guy, the motivation doesn't necessarily work, and I'm having an issue trying to connect to the particular motivations of this big bad evil guy. But it's one of those things where it's like I academically understand. It's like, if I'm a necromancer and my control is over what is dead, then if everything is dead, then I have control and I am the master. But I still don't understand why you would necessarily want to kill the entire world. To me, that seems really dumb, because eventually it's not like necromancers in this world live forever. They still die. So eventually you'll die and there will be nobody living to replace you, and so everything will be dead and it will kind of just stop. Now I get like some plot to make the necromancers supreme, sure, but to kill everything, that seems really dumb. Anyway, that being said, I still enjoyed it. Plots of the big bad evil guy you don't always need to get if it makes sense to them, I guess. But there were those couple of things that to me kind of didn't necessarily mesh very well with the rest of the story. I still recommend it. I had a great time reading it. Let me know if you've read any of the other books by Eric R. Asher, or if you've read either of the two that I've covered in my channels. Like, share, subscribe, all that other stuff. And until next time, enjoy what you're reading.